I was still in my work polo, keys in one hand and a leftover sandwich in the other, when the doorbell rang. It was almost 10 at night. I figured it was a neighbor needing something, maybe a package mix-up or a car alarm going off. What I didn't expect was the baby carrier on my front porch. I stared at it, frozen. A little lump in a blue onesie was curled up inside, sleeping like it was the most normal night in the world. Taped to the handle was a note, scribbled on lined paper. "His name is Jay. I can't do this. Please take care of him." My stomach dropped so fast I thought I'd throw up. Quick note, before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from? I picked up the carrier with shaking hands and brought it inside. The kid didn't even stir. I sat on the floor, staring at him while my brain caught up. Jay, my brother Tyler's ex. Her name was Angie, and they'd split up years ago. I hadn't seen either of them since Tyler's third DUI. I grabbed my phone and called my parents. My dad answered. "What?" "Dad. Angie left a baby on my porch. I think it's Tyler's. His name's Jay." Silence. Then, "He's your mess now." "He's not my dad. He's a baby. I told your brother years ago not to drag the family into his trash. Looks like you didn't listen." He hung up. I called my mom next, desperate for someone to care. "Did you call the police?" she asked flatly. No. I thought maybe you'd want to come see him. He's probably your grandson." "I don't need to see anything. That girl was trouble. We told Tyler she was no good." She hung up before I could even ask for help. I sat there stunned, while Jay started to stir. A little whimper, then a cry that got louder and louder. I'd never felt so alone. I didn't even know how old he was. I called Jeremy, my boyfriend. 2 years together. He answered on the third ring. "Can you come over?" I asked. "There's a baby, Tyler's, I think. He got dropped off here. I don't have anything, no formula, no diapers. Can you help?" He didn't even pause. "You need to call child services. That's not your problem." "Jeremy, he's here. I can't just... I'm not getting involved in your brother's crap. I'm sorry." He hung up. That was it. No help, no offer, nothing. Jay's cries were full-on screaming now. I stood up and started grabbing my keys again. If nobody else was going to help, I'd figure it out myself. I buckled Jay into my back seat, still screaming, and drove off into the night. I pulled into Walmart's empty parking lot just before 2 a.m. Headlights cutting through the fogged-up glass doors. Jay was finally asleep in the car seat, pacifier hanging from his lip, but my heart wouldn't slow down. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even know if I could bring a baby into a store this late, but I wasn't about to leave him in the car, and there was nobody to call. The automatic doors whooshed open, and I carried him in, swaddled in a towel because he'd spit up all over his onesie in the car. I stood there under the bright lights, surrounded by aisles of crap I didn't recognize, blinking like I'd landed in another universe. "Can I help you, ma'am?" a woman's voice said behind me. I turned. Middle-aged, tired eyes, blue vest. Her name tag said Trina. She looked at Jay, then at me. I don't know what he needs," I said. "Formula, diapers, I don't even know how old he is. Maybe 3 months? 4? She didn't blink. "Come on, let's get you started." Trina walked me through every aisle like it was routine. Formula, bottles, a can of ready-made stuff to use tonight. Diapers in 2 sizes just in case. She even opened a pack to show me how to fasten one. We picked out wipes, burp cloths, a thermometer, and a little stuffed dinosaur she insisted on throwing in. Every kid needs something soft, especially now. At checkout, I swiped my debit card and nearly gagged at the total. I didn't blink either. I thanked her, buckled Jay back in, and drove home on autopilot. Back in my apartment, I used an old laundry basket and some folded towels to make him a crib. Wasn't pretty, but it was safe. I fed him the formula, fumbling with the bottle, and rocked him until his breathing slowed again. I didn't sleep, just sat beside the makeshift crib with my back against the wall, watching the rise and fall of his tiny chest. By morning, I called my manager and told her I needed emergency leave. She didn't ask many questions, just told me to do what I had to do. That gave me enough air to breathe. Then I went to the police station to file a report. Not because I wanted to get anyone in trouble, but because I needed to do things the right way. I told the officer everything. He glanced through the note I'd saved. If he was left with family, It's not abandonment, he said, barely looking up from his screen. You're not required to take him to child services if you're willing to care for him. I'm not his legal guardian, I said. Doesn't that matter? He shrugged. Only if someone contests it. You're good for now. I left there with less clarity than I'd gone in with. That afternoon, I found a family lawyer in town who squeezed me in last minute. Her name was Claudia, mid-40s, sharp eyes, no patience for fluff. I handed her the note. She read it, looked at me, then looked at Jay sleeping in the car seat by my feet. You want temporary guardianship? I want to make sure no one can just come take him, she nodded. You'll need to file emergency custody paperwork. It's going to cost you, and it'll take a few weeks. How much? $2,000 to start. I didn't flinch, just gave her my info, signed what she put in front of me, and transferred almost all the money from my savings. I'd been saving for a used car upgrade. Didn't matter now. The days that followed blurred into one another. Bottle feedings every few hours, diaper changes on the kitchen table, watching baby care videos on YouTube while holding Jay in one arm. I stopped trying to call Jeremy after he stopped answering completely. Left 2 voicemails, both ignored. By the end of the week, he'd blocked me. My parents never checked in, never asked how Jay was doing. Nothing. I tried my brother once, a last-ditch text. Your son is with me. Are you going to step up or not? No answer. That was it. I was done chasing ghosts. By the 7th night, I was broke, exhausted, and the apartment smelled like formula and stress. But Jay was clean, fed, and sleeping soundly in the laundry basket crib beside my bed. I looked at him, curled up like a question mark, and I knew, no matter what else came next, I wasn't giving him up. I walked to the kitchen, took the last clean bottle from the drying rack, and started prepping for the next feeding. By the 3rd week, I knew I couldn't keep living in my 1-bedroom apartment, tripping over laundry baskets and baby bottles in the dark. I found a small 2-bedroom rental across town. Nothing fancy, but clean, safe, and walking distance from a daycare I kept hearing about. It was run out of a remodeled house by a retired teacher named Mrs. Duffy. She answered the door in a sunflower apron, holding a mug that said, "I make tiny humans smarter." Jay was strapped to my chest in a hand-me-down carrier, drooling all over me. "Let me guess," she said, smiling like she'd seen 100 of me. "You need help, and you're terrified to ask." I nodded. "Yeah, that about covers it." She took us in the same day, said she'd work with my schedule and cut me a break on tuition until I found my rhythm. I nearly cried in her hallway. The move was a blur, just me, a borrowed truck, and 2 friends from work who didn't ask questions. We set up Jay's new crib in the corner of the 2nd room, next to a bookshelf full of plastic dinosaurs and secondhand toys. I kept learning the hard way, like how diaper cream only works if you use enough of it, or how midnight fevers feel like bombs going off. I must have called the pediatrician's office a dozen times that first month. Yes, his poop is green. No, I didn't feed him spinach. My job held my spot, but when I came back from leave, I had to cut my hours in half. No more closing shifts, no weekends. When they offered me a promotion a few months later, I turned it down. The raise wasn't worth missing bath time or Jay's wobbly first steps across the living room. My coworkers surprised me with a mini baby shower in the break room one afternoon. Streamers taped to the vending machine, a grocery store cake, and a table full of hand-me-down clothes and toys. I went to the bathroom and cried into a paper towel. We built routines. Every night bath time came first, Jay kicking and splashing while I tried not to soak the whole floor. Then pajamas, 2 board books, and lullabies I never remembered the words to. He'd curl up in his crib, fists by his face, and I'd sit there, watching like an idiot, just making sure he was still breathing. His first birthday, I taped up dollar store balloons and sang off key while he smashed cake into his hair. It was just us and Mrs. Duffy, who brought a stuffed T-Rex and told me I was doing just fine. I didn't totally believe her, but I needed to hear it. Jay grew fast. By 18 months, he was climbing furniture and babbling nonstop. He called me Dee, then Dada, then finally Mama, like he was trying each word on until one fit. I didn't correct him. Bills stayed tight. I clipped coupons and skipped takeout. Gave up new clothes. My old car rattled every time I braked. But it got us where we needed to go. I kept going, kept showing up. Because every day I looked at Jay and saw someone who deserved better than the chaos he came from. One night, I came home from work, exhausted and sweaty, and found him already asleep in his crib. His chubby hand gripped the T-Rex, his mouth open, drool pooling on the sheet. I sat beside him and rested my forehead against the rails. I whispered, "Whatever comes, you're mine now." Then I stood up, turned out the light, and got ready for tomorrow. The next morning started like 100 others, Jay tugging at my blanket with bedhead and his T-Rex under one arm. "Pancakes, Mom." He called me Mom for the first time right after his second birthday. No coaching, no build-up. Just crawled into my lap, pointed to a juice box and said, "Mom, help." I nearly dropped it from shock. From that moment on, we were a team. I worked weekdays at the store, then logged into my laptop at night to tutor kids in math and English. Didn't matter how tired I was. Those sessions paid the gas bill, the Wi-Fi, and half the groceries. I kept at it, even on days my voice cracked from talking too much. Our life had its rhythm. Saturdays were pancake mornings, always shaped like dinosaurs. Sundays were library days. The first time Jay checked out his own stack of books, he told the librarian, "I'm going to read these to my house team." She laughed. I didn't correct him. We were the house team. Holidays didn't come with big family gatherings or piles of presents, but we made them ours. Valentine's Day meant heart-shaped pancakes. Halloween was handmade costumes from thrift store scraps. On Christmas Eve, we sat on the couch with Coco and watched Home Alone until he passed out. Jay was smart, like scary smart, and artsy as hell. Our fridge turned into a gallery of messy dinosaur sketches, rockets, team portraits of him and me and T-Rex. He told people he wanted to be a dino scientist, or maybe a drawer person. I told him he could be both. Every now and then, my parents showed up, once in the spring, once around Thanksgiving. They'd bring grocery store cookies or some cheap toy and sit stiff on my couch, like they didn't know where to look. My dad usually lasted 20 minutes before making some comment about my small place or Jay's hair being too long. My mom once asked, "Do you ever worry about what people think, raising someone else's kid?" I didn't answer. She didn't deserve one. Jay never asked who they were. He'd hand them drawings, try to play, and shrug when they left early. He didn't miss what he'd never had. Eventually, he started asking about the other parts, though. Quietly, always before bed. "Did I have another mom before you?" I never lied. I told him, "Yes. She brought you into the world, but she couldn't take care of you the way kids need. So she made sure you ended up somewhere safe." He always nodded like he understood. "That's okay," he said once. "You're the mom who stayed." That one hit deep. We didn't have much, but we had us. I taped up every drawing, cheered at every daycare art show, and read the same bedtime book until the cover wore off. I kept a folder of his milestones, report cards, and photos, just in case I ever had to prove what we'd built. We were enough. I didn't need permission or approval, just him. One night after our usual library trip, I tucked Jay in and kissed his forehead. "Good night, house team," he mumbled, already half asleep. I laughed. "Good night, buddy." I turned off the lamp and sat beside his bed for a minute, staring at the shapes of his drawings on the walls, the stuffed animals lined up like backup dancers. It was quiet, steady, and real, and I wasn't letting anyone take it from us. I'd just finished cleaning up the dinner dishes. Jay was in the other room, sketching a T-Rex in a spacesuit, when my phone buzzed with a number I didn't know. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something in me said, "Pick up." "Hello?" A pause. Then, "Hey, it's me." "Tyler." I stood there, frozen, dish towel still in my hand. "You're kidding." "No, I know it's been a long time. I wanted to talk. Can we meet?" His voice wasn't slurred. He didn't sound high. In fact, he sounded weirdly composed, like the version of him I remembered from before everything went to hell. "Why now?" I asked. "I've been clean for 3 years, working, stable. I just want to see my son." I didn't say yes right away. We talked for another few minutes. He told me he was engaged to a woman named Sabrina, said they'd moved back to town recently. He was in real estate now. "I'm not the same guy," he kept saying. I agreed to meet, but not alone, not at my place. We set it up at a local family center, neutral ground, supervised setting. Jay didn't know yet. I didn't want to spring it on him without knowing what kind of storm I might be walking into. The following Saturday, we walked into that center holding hands. Jay was 9 now, tall for his age, wearing his favorite hoodie with the glow-in-the-dark dinosaurs. His eyes went straight to the man waiting by the window. Tyler stood tall, clean-shaven, button-up shirt tucked into jeans. Next to him was Sabrina, blonde, professional-looking. Everything coordinated like she'd walked out of a catalog. She gave me a sharp once-over, then smiled too wide. "Hi, Jay," Tyler said. I'm your dad." Jay looked at me, confused, but didn't pull away. "Hi," he said softly. We sat down in a circle of chairs. The counselor gave a quick intro, then stepped back to observe. I stayed quiet, just watching. Jay clung to my hand. Sabrina leaned forward. "We brought you something," she said. She pulled out a big gift bag. Inside was a brand new tablet, some pricey dinosaur figures, and a pair of shoes that probably cost more than my electric bill. Jay's eyes lit up, but he didn't take the bag. He looked up at me first. I gave a small nod. "It's okay." He took the bag slowly, murmured a thank you, and hugged it to his chest. Tyler smiled like he was trying too hard. "We've been really looking forward to this," he said. "I'd love to see you again sometime. Maybe we could do lunch next weekend." I spoke up. "Let's take it one step at a time." "Of course," Sabrina said quickly. "Whatever works for you guys. We just want to reconnect." Her tone was too polished, practiced, like she'd rehearsed this whole moment in her head. Tyler just nodded, his eyes on Jay the whole time. We stayed another 20 minutes. Jay answered their questions politely, but kept his body angled toward me. When he got overwhelmed, he turned back to his sketchbook and started drawing. That was his escape hatch. After we left, Jay didn't say much in the car. At home, he finally asked, "So, was that really my dad?" "Yeah," I said. "He's trying to be part of your life now." He stared out the window. "Do I have to go with him?" "Not unless you want to." That seemed to settle him. He picked up his drawing again and went back to adding rocket boosters to the T-Rex's feet. Tyler followed up a few days later with a text, thanking me for being open. Sabrina messaged me separately with a list of ideas for bonding time: movies, theme parks, weekly visits. I ignored that one. I wasn't about to throw Jay into some fantasy world just because they showed up clean and shiny one weekend. I told Tyler we'd stick to the family center visits for now, controlled. No surprises. He said he understood. But something about Sabrina's smile stayed in my head longer than it should have. "Hey, would love to grab coffee. Just us. Want to talk through some ideas." I stared at the message for a while before replying, "Fine. 1 hour." We met at a little cafe near downtown, neutral, public, easy to walk out of if I had to. She showed up in heels, makeup like she was heading to a job interview, all polished smiles. I wore jeans and my oldest sweater, no effort. I wasn't there to impress anyone. We barely sat down before she dropped it. "We've been talking, and we think Jay would be better off with us." I blinked. "Excuse me?" "Full custody. I mean, you've done an incredible job. No one's saying otherwise. But we can give him more. A backyard, travel, private school. Stability." I set my coffee down. "Stability?" He's had stability for 9 years. Where the hell do you think he's been growing up? Disneyland? "I didn't mean it like that," she said quickly. "Just long term. You're working 2 jobs. You're stretched thin. And Tyler's his biological father." I leaned in. "You think a few gift bags and supervised visits give you the right to rewrite history? You want him to live with 2 strangers who missed 9 birthdays? We're not strangers, we're family." "No," I said, standing. "Jay's family is the person who held him at 3 a.m. when he had a 103-degree fever, who taught him to read, who sat through speech therapy and meltdowns and dinosaur phases. You and Tyler, you're a couple of opportunists who showed up late and think you deserve a medal." She kept her voice calm, but her eyes flared. "We don't want to fight. That wouldn't be good for Jay." "Then back off. I'm warning you. Do not push this." I walked out. Didn't even finish my coffee. The following week, my parents called. My mom sounded chipper, like we hadn't spent years dodging each other. "We're having dinner Sunday. You and Jay should come." I almost said no, but something in her tone made me pause. "Who else is going?" "Just us," she said. "It's time we all sat down, like a real family. That word again. Family. They loved throwing it around when it suited them. I agreed, against my gut. Sunday night, Jay and I pulled into the driveway. My parents' place looked the same as always. Perfect lawn, stiff porch furniture, cold windows. As soon as I opened the door, I saw them. Tyler and Sabrina were already there. Sitting on the damn couch with drinks in hand like this was some kind of reunion special. Jay froze behind me. I stepped inside, jaw clenched. "You lied," I said to my mom. She waved it off. "We just thought it was time for everyone to come together, for Jay's sake." Sabrina stood, fake smiling again. "We didn't know you'd be surprised. Your parents reached out a while ago. We've been talking." I turned to my dad. "How long?" He didn't even blink. "Couple years." Tyler kept us updated. He wanted to come back the right way. "So all this pretending, you two showing up for holidays, acting distant. You were already planning this." "We want what's best for him," my mom said. "And that means reunifying the family." I laughed, bitter. "You wouldn't even look at him when he was dropped on my porch. Now you're all warmed up to the idea of grandparenthood?" Jay tugged my sleeve. "Can we go?" I looked down at him. His face was pale, lips tight. He wasn't confused. He was uncomfortable. That was all I needed. "We're done here," I said. "Don't call me. Don't text. You want to play house with Tyler and Sabrina? Go ahead. But leave my son out of it." Sabrina stepped forward. "This doesn't have to be hostile." I cut her off. "Try me again and see how hostile it gets." Jay and I walked out, heads high, hearts pounding. In the car, I handed him his sketchbook. "Draw it out," I said. "We'll talk after." He nodded and started sketching, quiet. I drove home with one hand on the wheel and the other on the truth. They'd all been plotting behind my back for years, and I wasn't letting them take him. 3 days later, I opened my front door to a man in a blazer holding a clipboard. "Are you Miss Carter?" "Yeah. You've been served." He handed me a thick envelope and walked off like he was delivering pizza. I closed the door with shaking hands and sat on the couch. Jay was at school. I had about 20 minutes before I had to pick him up. I opened the packet. Tyler was petitioning for full parental rights, full custody. In black and white legal jargon, he claimed I had knowingly and willfully kept Jay from his biological father. I read it 3 times, then slammed it shut and dialed Claudia, my lawyer. "You saw this coming, right?" I asked her. "I did," she said. "But it's still disgusting." She laid it out for me. I'd need to fight this head on. Real money, real documentation. Testimony, evidence, timelines, everything. I didn't have the cash for that, not even close. So I took out a personal loan. Not for a car, not for a vacation. For war. Claudia and I met that Friday. She pulled out a yellow legal pad. "We need to show the full story. Every doctor's appointment, every school report, everything you've done for that kid since the night he was dumped on your doorstep." I got to work. I spent nights digging through file boxes. I found every medical bill, every school newsletter, every printed photo. I printed emails from teachers, texts from Mrs. Duffy, birthday party invites, speech therapy invoices, every drawing Jay ever made that had "Mom" scribbled in crayon. Claudia told me to get witness letters, people who could vouch for me and Jay. My co-workers stepped up. So did Mrs. Duffy, neighbors, the pediatrician, the dentist, even the guy who ran the local library's story hour. "He's always with her," one letter said. "Always. That kid lights up when he sees her walk through the door." Still, it didn't feel like enough. I couldn't shake the feeling Tyler had something up his sleeve. So I hired a private investigator. His name was Rich. Looked like he belonged in a motorcycle gang. Sat in my kitchen sipping bitter coffee while he took notes. "Find out everything," I said. "Tyler, Sabrina, their jobs, finances, legal records. I want to know what they're hiding." Rich nodded. "You got it." Meanwhile, Jay started unraveling. He was quieter, ate less, started waking up from nightmares, crawling into my bed shaking. One night he finally asked, "Are they going to take me away from you?" That one broke me. I held his face in both hands. "Nobody's taking you, baby. You hear me? Nobody." Still, I knew he needed more than promises. So I found a child therapist across town and scheduled an intake. I sat through the first session in a tiny beige office with tissues on every flat surface. Jay sat curled in the big armchair, hugging his T-Rex. The therapist, Ms. Lane, spoke softly, but she didn't baby him. He opened up fast, drew pictures, talked about being confused, scared, not wanting to hurt anyone's feelings. But the root of it was simple. He didn't want to go with them. He wanted to stay with me. After the session, I met with Ms. Lane in private. "Do you want me to testify if this goes to court?" she asked. "Absolutely." I walked out feeling like I'd finally put a brick in the wall I needed to build between Jay and the people trying to yank him out of his life. At home, he was still anxious, clingier. I let him sleep in my bed more often. I canceled a few tutoring sessions and spent that time just being there. We played board games. I read to him even though he could read on his own now. We started a new bedtime tradition, writing down 3 safe things before sleep. He always picked T-Rex, pancakes, and me. Papers flew, calls came. Claudia stayed sharp and steady. "They're building a narrative," she warned. "We have to tear it apart." I stared at the affidavit my parents submitted, full of legal-sounding nonsense. "We believe Mr. Carter has reformed and deserves his parental rights." No mention of how they ignored Jay for years. I held that paper over the trash can for a second, then put it in the case file. They thought this was just about biology. But I'd raised that boy through fevers, tantrums, and broken crayons. If they wanted a fight, they'd get one. 2 weeks before the court date, Rich showed up at my place with a manila folder and a face like he'd just come from a crime scene. "You're gonna want to sit down," he said. I didn't. He dropped the folder on my kitchen table. "Your brother and Sabrina are drowning in debt. Credit cards maxed out. Sabrina's car is leased under a fake business account that's already flagged for tax issues. And Tyler's real estate gig? He hasn't closed a deal in over a year." I opened the folder. Bills, statements, flagged transactions, all of it right there in black and white. "That's not even the juicy part," Rich added, sipping his terrible gas station coffee. "Sabrina's been trying to track down Jay's biological mom's family." My head snapped up. "Why?" "Turns out Angie's aunt passed away 6 months ago, left behind a trust fund, real money. Sabrina's been sniffing around through a third-party lawyer, asking about any potential heirs. Jay's name came up. I felt like someone had poured ice water down my spine. "They're not after custody for love," I said. "They want access to that trust." Bingo. Claudia called the second I sent her the scans. "This changes everything," she said. "I want physical copies of all of it. We'll seal it and submit it to the judge. No advance warning." We spent the next few days building a legal grenade. Claudia wrapped the debt reports, the inheritance inquiries, the timelines, the witness statements, all of it into one thick sealed folder marked confidential evidence, in camera review only. The day of court, I wore the only blazer I owned and held Jay's backpack in one hand and my case file in the other. Claudia walked beside me, calm and cool, like she'd already seen the end. Tyler and Sabrina were already there, sitting pretty at their table. Tyler wore a navy suit that didn't fit right. Sabrina looked like she was walking into a job interview, hair too perfect, eyes scanning me like I was the help. They smiled like this was just some friendly reunion. My stomach turned. The judge, mid-60s, sharp as a tack, called us all to order. Tyler's lawyer went first. They laid it on thick. "Stable 2-parent home," the guy said. "Financial security, biological connection, intent to provide long-term support." They showed pictures of Tyler coaching a little league team, Sabrina volunteering at some animal shelter. It was all PR. Sabrina dabbed at her eyes. "We just want to give Jay the life he deserves." Then came my parents. My mother walked to the stand in a pearl necklace I hadn't seen in 10 years. "We love our grandson deeply," she said. "We simply want to see the family made whole again." Then my father took his turn. "She robbed us," he said, pointing at me. "Robbed us of our blood." I didn't flinch. Claudia scribbled notes like she was taking inventory for war. When it was our turn, Claudia stood slowly. "We have a sealed folder for the judge's eyes only," she said. "We request an in-camera review before our final argument." The judge agreed, took the folder, disappeared into chambers. The room went dead quiet for 15 minutes. When he came back, he looked different, less neutral, more aware. He cleared his throat. "I've reviewed the submitted materials. Mr. Carter and Ms. Malone, I have a few questions." Tyler sat straighter. "Of course, Your Honor." The judge leaned forward. Were you aware that Ms. Malone attempted to locate the child's biological maternal relatives, specifically in relation to a trust fund? Sabrina blinked. We were trying to connect with his roots. That's not what the documentation suggests, the judge said sharply. You contacted the trust administrator and inquired about beneficiary access. Tyler shifted in his seat. I didn't know about that. She handles that stuff. And what about the outstanding debts? Maxed credit cards, false business filings, inactive licenses. Sabrina went pale. We didn't think that was relevant. It's highly relevant, he cut in, especially when your petition hinges on financial stability. The judge turned to my parents. And you too. You signed affidavits supporting custody transfer. Did either of you verify the financial situation of the parties you're endorsing? My dad opened his mouth, but nothing came out. My mom turned red. Didn't think so, the judge said. He turned to Claudia. Proceed. She stood like a general going in for the kill. My client has raised Jay since infancy. Every birthday, every appointment, every night terror. This isn't about biology, it's about commitment. Tyler Carter showed no interest for nearly a decade. Now, conveniently, he resurfaces, right after a large inheritance appears. She paused, then nodded toward me. This woman is not Jay's babysitter. She is his mother. I didn't cry. I stared straight ahead and kept breathing. The judge scribbled a few notes, then looked back up. I'll issue my ruling tomorrow, but let me be clear. This court does not reward manipulation. We serve the best interest of the child. He stood. We're adjourned for today. Tyler slumped. Sabrina clenched her jaw so tight I thought her teeth might crack. Jay waited outside in the hallway with Ms. Lane. When he saw me, he ran straight into my arms. Did we win? He asked. I kissed the top of his head. Not yet, I said, but we're close. The courtroom felt colder the next morning. Maybe it was in my head, maybe not. I sat at the same table with Claudia, hands clenched in my lap, heart hammering like it was trying to punch through my chest. The judge walked in, robe flowing, expression unreadable. We'll begin with final testimony, he said. Ms. Carter, take the stand. I stood, straightened my blouse, and walked up like my legs weren't shaking. I raised my right hand, swore in, and sat down. Claudia kept it simple. Can you tell the court about your relationship with Jay? I nodded. I've raised him since he was an infant. He was left on my porch when he was just a few months old. I didn't know how to be a mom, but I figured it out. I worked. I stayed up all night. I gave up promotions. I gave him everything I had. I looked at Tyler. He wouldn't meet my eyes. I taught him to read. I taught him to tie his shoes, to be kind, to tell the truth. I took him to every doctor visit, every dentist appointment. When he had nightmares, I was the one who held him. When he needed someone to cheer at his art shows or hug him when his turtle died, I was there. My voice cracked once. I cleared my throat and pushed through it. He calls me Mom, not because I asked him to, because that's what I am. Claudia nodded. Thank you. The judge turned to the other attorney. Cross? Tyler's lawyer stood, adjusted his tie, and walked toward me. You've never formally adopted Jay, correct? Not yet, I said. But I filed for permanent guardianship the year he was left with me. That was approved. He's legally been in my care since. Are you aware of the importance of biological parental rights? I'm aware that biology doesn't make someone a parent. He hesitated. No further questions. Next came Jay's second-grade teacher. She described a kind, confident kid. Said Jay talked about me all the time, drew me in every picture he made. That boy's life is full of love, she said. Then came Ms. Lane, the therapist. Jay is deeply bonded with his guardian. Removing him from that would be emotionally traumatic and, in my opinion, unnecessary. He feels safe, stable, and supported. He doesn't see her as a temporary caretaker. He sees her as Mom. Claudia rested our case. The judge looked back at Tyler and Sabrina. You may speak now. Sabrina stood. Too quickly. She plastered on that polished smile again. We only want what's best for Jay. A home with 2 parents, stability, opportunity, and of course connection to his biological family. The judge held up the sealed folder. Were you aware of a trust fund left behind by Jay's maternal relatives? Sabrina hesitated. I mean, someone may have mentioned it, but we weren't pursuing it actively. Actively, the judge repeated. You contacted the administrator, submitted inquiries under a third-party name, then filed for custody shortly after. That seems more than passive. Tyler stood. That was all, Sabrina. I didn't know. You didn't know you were applying for custody of a child whose financial assets you were already circling? No, sir, he said stiffly. That wasn't my focus. The judge raised an eyebrow but moved on. To the grandparents. Stand, please. My parents rose slowly, like they'd suddenly aged 10 years overnight. You both submitted sworn affidavits supporting Mr. Carter, the judge said. Did you independently verify his living situation, employment status, or financial records? My father opened his mouth, then closed it. Well, the judge pressed. No, sir, he muttered. You understand that submitting false or misleading information under oath is perjury? My mother spoke up. We thought we were doing the right thing. You thought or you hoped. Silence. The judge sighed and turned back to me. Ms. Carter, your testimony was direct and credible. Your witnesses were consistent. The evidence submitted clearly shows a sustained, stable, and loving home environment. Jay is thriving in your care. Then he looked at Tyler and Sabrina. Mr. Carter, your late interest in parenting coinciding with financial opportunity is not lost on this court. Ms. Malone, your evasive conduct during inquiry review is equally concerning. This court does not reward manipulation, deceit, or opportunism. He banged his gavel once. Permanent custody remains with Ms. Carter. The child will not be removed from the only home he's ever known. This is final. Tyler slumped. Sabrina just stared straight ahead like someone had cut her strings. The judge continued. Supervised visits will be permitted twice monthly, pending child willingness. Any violation of boundaries will result in full suspension of visitation rights. He looked at my parents last. As for you, your credibility is severely compromised. Future visitation requests will require court review. He stood. Court is adjourned. Claudia patted my shoulder. You did it. I exhaled like I hadn't in a year. Jay waited in the hallway, sitting on the bench with Ms. Lane, his sketchbook in his lap. I opened the door. He looked up, hope burning in his face. We're going home, I said. He jumped off the bench and ran to me. I knew you'd win, he whispered. I held him tighter than I ever had. Jay didn't let go of my hand the whole walk to the car. As soon as we were inside, he unbuckled, climbed into my lap, and hugged me so tight I felt my ribs creak. You kept your promise, he whispered. I told you, I said. Nobody was taking you. We drove straight to our favorite pizza place. Pepperoni, extra cheese, and a side of ice cream from the corner stand. He ate like he hadn't had food in a week, smiling, laughing, mouth full, head finally light again. That night, I let him stay up late. We watched old cartoons in pajamas, curled under the same blanket. No talk about court, no mention of anyone else, just peace. A few days later, I met with my parents. One last time. Neutral spot. Middle of the day. I didn't want it to drag. You lost any say the day you backed Tyler over me, I told them. You don't get to flip the switch and pretend this never happened. My mom blinked fast like she was surprised I didn't come to forgive. My dad just stared across the table like I wasn't even there. I needed family, I said. You picked convenience. I stood up and left before they could respond. Sabrina disappeared from the picture soon after. No surprise. Once the judge shut the door, she stopped trying. Tyler kept up the supervised visits. Quiet, polite. No more suits or grand gestures. He mostly just sat with Jay and asked about his drawings. Jay stayed in therapy. He talked more, slept better, smiled easier. One session at a time, the storm passed. Then one night, he came into the kitchen holding a birthday card he'd made himself. Construction paper, marker hearts, his messy handwriting across the front. Inside, it said, "Thanks for picking me, not because you had to, but because you wanted to." I sat down at the table, tears stinging behind my eyes. "You're my kid," I said. "Always." He grinned. "I know, I just wanted to remind you." That night, I tucked him in, kissed his forehead, and stood at the doorway for a second, watching him drift off with T-Rex clutched tight in his arms. We didn't have the big house. We didn't have a 2-parent photo on the wall. But we had everything we needed. We were still standing, stronger than before.